All right. I see a lot of women out there bashing and saying a lot of derogatory comments towards these foreign women that the passport bros are going to see. And I find that to be disappointing because I'm seeing a lot of black women insulting these, like the Filipinos and Latinas, and insulting these women. Um, have they forgotten that Jim Crow era was just recent? That their grandparents was beaten, took a beating for being black. It's not that long ago. Have you guys forgotten that in the United States, that a lot of my athletes, a lot of my friends, their parents, some of them marched, their grandparents marched with Martin Luther King. You know, a lot of them took some ass whoopings for the rights that you have now. Have you forgotten that? Uh, have you forgotten you were called ignorant? You were called a prostitute or only good for sex as women. Have a high sex drive. Have you forgotten it's less than 3 generations ago, or 3 generations ago, even 4 generations ago? Your mother, your ancestors were raped repeatedly. They were separated from each other. Are you women forgetting this stuff? Why are you insulting a foreign woman? These women are educated. When I went to Sudan, the woman I went to see, she was a doctor, a practicing medical doctor, working on a specialty to becoming an anesthesiologist. Now she has that specialization and she's making bank. When I went to that third world country or fourth world country, I was in Sudan. She took 3 months of her income and paid for my apartment for the month that I was there. When I offered to give her the money back, she refused. She was interested in me, in possibly having a future. I was interested in her. It just didn't work out. So, in my experience, these women are not looking for a handout. They're not destitute. A lot of these and passport bros are not going to these foreign countries looking for a destitute woman that has no brain cells. As far as prostitutes, you're calling these women prostitutes and sex trafficking and all this stuff. These women, most of them are religious. Christianity. Most of you black women, you grew up as Christians. Islam, Muslims. You grew up in some form of religion. Do you believe in God? What God do you serve where you need to insult these men, these women, or insult the passport bros? We as passport bros are putting the message out there not to insult you women. We're putting it out to other brothers, young brothers that have their own place, their own career, and they're financially stable, and saying you can continue to be efficient even in a relationship, because it's not efficient finding a traditional woman in the United States. If a passport bro wants to be efficient in starting a family, the most efficient way to do that is to get your passport. It's 2023. It's early 2023. Get your passport. Travel. See how easy it is to find a woman that's fit, feminine, friendly, young, and was brought up to be a traditional wife. See how easy it is to find those things when you go to a foreign country. You go into the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Latin American countries, part of the Caribbean, part of India, Sri Lanka, Africa. See how easy it is. And a lot of times you don't have to put out. These women are putting out their finances and their time for you. Now, a lot of Western women will say, well, they're probably doing all that now until they get a green card and stuff like that. So what? If they're using you to get that, right? At least they're giving you something in the process. What have American women given you in the dating market? Have they given you anything? I dated this woman in Sudan. She gave me a place to stay. Didn't want any money in return. She stood in line to get gas so she could show me around the place for 4 to 8 hours. I've done other videos on it. She's educated. She speaks 2 languages, English and Arabic. Her sisters speak 2 languages, English and Arabic. Her sisters are 21 and 22. They both just became, at 21 and 22, became doctors. And all they had to do is do their practical stuff for a year. And then go on to do their specialty. So these women are educated. They're practicing doctors and pediatricians and things like that. But they're family oriented. The second trip I took, I found my wife. She speaks French and Malagasy. And she's learning English. So by the time she gets here, it's 3 languages. There was no games with her. I met her on a dating app. I said hi. She said hello. I'm interested in dating, getting to know you. She said, oh, fine. The moment she gave me her information and logged off the dating site forever. She never went back on that site. I stayed on the dating site and I never saw her on there again after she committed to me. I even went on there recently to see if she was on there. Nothing. And this is like a year and a half later. The pandemic kind of killed a lot of progress, but on my second trip, she was the one. And she wasn't by no means the most beautiful woman in Madagascar that I was going to see, but she was perfect for me. So these women are not stupid. Prostitutes are all over the world. They're even here in the United States. On some of those dating sites, some of them propositioned me. Beautiful women, but they were like genuine prostitutes. And they said yes, that they were prostitutes and they were looking for clients. So it's here in the United States too. So instead of bashing these women, instead of insulting them, because the passport bros are the ones you don't want anyway, don't bash these women. Don't try to degrade them. They're women just like you. They just live in a different country and they have different value system. Why should these women have to defend themselves for showing interest in a passport bro? You don't have any interest in the passport bro. These same men are here in the United States getting their place, getting their career up and getting their money stabilized. But that stuff requires discipline and there's not a lot of room for swag and game and playing games just to grab your attention. That in itself should be game. A smart woman would see that is game. But most of the women here was caught up in flash, all show and no substance. And a passport bro needs to remain efficient. So after you have your 3 things in place, I strongly recommend ignore these women. Ignore what they're saying to these foreign women. And foreign women, ignore these American women that's saying all this crap about you. Because ignorance just like how ignorance that got us into slavery, these women are just as ignorant and falling back into a different kind of slavery due to ignorance. Study if these women are before these women talk, they should have some culture. You could see that the angry women have no education when it comes to outside culture. So just ignore these women. If and my shout out to Filipina P. Even though my wife is African, I prefer African women, black women. My mother is black. My sister, well, she's half white. Um, a lot of my family is they're black. So even though I grew up in a white environment, when I was younger, I was more into white girls. I grew out of that. I learned to appreciate and see the value in black women. But finding black women in this country um, that is traditional wives is hard. It's not an efficient thing to do. It's expensive, and the success rate is almost, for someone that's not in the top 20% like myself, it's almost non-existent. Because I have a foreign accent and I have fairly exotic face, it wasn't difficult to find women to sleep around with, but I couldn't find a wife. And I don't really just sleep around just for the hell of it. It's not in my personality for that. Women are really not difficult to get. It's just not what I'm looking for. In my youth, maybe I'll play around, but not now. So stop bashing these foreign women. They're educated. A lot of times they speak more languages than you. Passport bros, get your those who are not passport bros and you have those three things in place, get your passport. It's more efficient. I found my wife in 2 visits. One to one country in Africa, and the second visit to a different country in Africa. That's where I found my wife. Use the dating sites. That way the women know why you're coming and you know why you're going. Right? And if for some reason these women are using you to get a passport, to get your green card or the citizenship in the United States, they're giving you a lot in return for that. More than the American women would give you. And so if they leave you, and if they do leave you after you've done that, you can always get another wife, another woman. Just go to another foreign country and find another one. You'll probably find one just as pretty, just as feminine, just as youthful, and all that stuff, except they're younger. So there's no losing for you. Ignore the ignorant women here in the United States that's bashing you or trying to belittle you. I guarantee you that on your first visit, you will be convinced. That's a guarantee. And if your money is not at a point where you could just travel all the time, travel with a purpose. Go and handle your business. Find your wife and do what's necessary to get her here. If she leaves you 10 years from now after she's gotten her stuff, go back and get another one. It's that easy. And it wouldn't cost you, especially if you're in your 30s or your early 30s. It's not going to cost you an astronomical amount of money just dating and going out on dates with these women that are just looking for a free meal and a good time. I have an athlete just went on a date, took this girl, she's starting to be a lawyer, beautiful, took her to an NBA game. After he took her home, she stopped talking to him. The next day, he ain't speak to her since. Was great up to that point, really convinced him that she was interested in him. You won't get none of that in a foreign country. So, get your passport, travel. If you have any questions, ask it in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe. You all have a good day.